So how do you handle academic criticism? Everybody agrees that it's very useful to receive criticism or some sort of feedback, but when it actually reaches you, it quite often feels very painful. You feel that you're being attacked, and when it's delivered in a harsh way, this kind of criticism may lead to lasting problems. For example, you may stop writing altogether, or you start procrastinating because you do not want your research to be judged. So you start dealing with the minute problems and footnotes and page numbers, and you keep pushing the deadline further and further away because you do not want to put your research in front of other people who may judge it and cause you pain again. But this is moving in the wrong direction, because what you really want is to use this feedback to improve your research, to make your paper better, more readable, more relevant, and just more accurate in all details. But that may not even be the most important thing, because you also want to improve as a scholar. You want to upgrade yourself and improve your methodology, your outlook, your approach to things. And so when you write something the next time, you already have a head start, and your paper is that much better from the beginning. So this is what you should really be aiming at, to capture the information included in the criticism to improve you and to push you forward. Okay, but how do you deal with the painful aspect of receiving criticism? How do you not get hurt? How do you take the punches? And I think the number one thing you can do is not to take criticism personally. Just regard it as data, information, and deal with the information value of it. And of course, you may think that it's easier said than done, because when you receive criticism from reviewers of an academic journal or someone at a conference, then it usually does not feel that good. In fact, it may feel as an attack on you personally, because as a young researcher, you quite often identify with your research very strongly. And so when somebody critiques it, you immediately feel that there is something wrong with you, and that hurts. And of course, criticism may come in different shapes and forms. Sometimes it's sugar-coated, and it's delivered in a very polite and non-confrontational way. So it does not hurt that bad, but the problem is that you sometimes miss the point entirely. So when somebody says that, oh, your presentation is so interesting, I've learned so much, but have you considered this and that and that? But you know what? Your presentation is good as it is. This is just something that came to my mind, so don't worry about it. And hearing this, you may just not get the message. You don't think about this as criticism or feedback, and happy with the presentation, you just move on and kind of forget about the point this person was trying to make. You just remember that they were nice to you and they liked your presentation. And so it may be counterintuitive, but often the painful way of receiving criticism is the best way. Or let's say it's the most efficient or effective way, because that's something you're not going to forget. You're going to address the issue head on. But in either case, no matter how polite and well-packaged or harsh and even vicious a criticism may be, it is important to capture the core information in it and use it to improve your research and learn from it. And I think what you should just do is to write down the main points of what people said to you, whether it was a polite comment or something that felt like an attack. And when you write down these points in your own words, you detach the content from how it was presented to you. And you keep these nuggets of information that actually capture what the point was. And this way, even a harsh criticism just becomes a list of facts rather than a frontal attack on you. And then you can go through the individual points and address them and think about them. And once you've done that, maybe that's the point when you can go back to the original messages, whether they arrived by email or were recorded as a video or a sound recording, and go through them once again, but this time trying to see if you've missed anything. And since you've dealt with most of it already, it's clearly not going to have such an emotional impact on you. So the main point here is not to take criticism personally, but focus on the information value in it. And consider them carefully. Don't sweep them under the rug, but act on them. Address the issues. The sooner, the better. And the second important point I want to address here, that in the long run, it's really, really important to learn to receive criticism the right way, because that will help you for the next 20, 30 years to keep improving. By contrast, if you don't learn to take criticism, but break down every time somebody says something about your research, that's not going to help you in the long run. In fact, that's going to make your life miserable. So when you start receiving your first punches from editors and reviewers, No matter how painful they are, you should take a step back and think about them in the long run. You will be receiving many forms of criticism in the following decades, and it's in your best interest to learn to deal with them the right way. So you don't get upset, you don't get emotional, but simply learn to take them as part of the process of publishing or presenting something. And one of the best ways to do this is to receive a lot of this. So put yourself in situations where you're likely to receive criticism, because your attitude and your reactions to criticism will be entirely different if you receive them once or twice a year or you receive them once a week. You're going to get used to them and you're going to improve much faster. Think of criticism as a form of correction. When you're going in the wrong direction and then somebody blocks your way or even hits you in the hand, and that might be painful both physically and emotionally, but it actually is helping you not to go in that wrong direction any further. And the more of these corrections you get, the better you can orientate yourself and go in a generally correct direction. And finally, I also want to mention that sometimes criticism is just not fair and the feedback is not correct. The person giving it may be in a position of authority, of power, and he or she might misunderstand your point or would have some other agenda you're not aware of. And so it's important to think about what they're saying, but if it feels completely wrong, then just disregard it. Or maybe you can run it by somebody whose opinion you value and ask them about it. But not every feedback is valuable, and there may be other motives that you're not aware of. Okay, let me know what your experience with criticism has been or how you learned to handle it. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.